Good morning. I'm sorry that you guys missed our lesson on Thursday. We had a lot of fun creating leaves, and inspired by that Maxwell and Williams range, we created our own versions of that or decided to paint a wreath. So it's entirely up to you. I'm just going to go through the basic leaf shapes and you can decide what you'd like to paint. To start, I'm just going to paint a simple lavender sprig, and we do this just by bringing up a small sort of twig, and then we bring in the leaves in little clusters, so they're like C-shaped brush strokes, and you can be quite free with this. How it works up lavender is little segments of these clusters, and you stop at a point wherever you feel like. If you look in nature, some of these clusters go all the way to the top, and then some leave quite a long stalk before the flower. I've pre-mixed a purple ahead of time, and it's all just about free mark making. I'm just going to dot this color in here in the shape of a sort of cone, just to give the illusion of a pretty lavender flower. For this next one, instead of doing 3 separate twigs, I'm going to do a sort of 3-in-1 combination just to show you the different leaf shapes that you can do. I'm going to start with a little thyme type of twig where the leaves are quite small and tightly spaced and almost circular, like little circles as you run it down the twig. And then as we go along this little branch, I'm gonna start making it more elongated, and it almost progresses down to a fern. I'm going to finish up the thyme and move on to a slightly elongated leaf now, just to show you a different shape. So all I'm doing is stretching that leaf out. And here I am making even longer leaves. You can do whatever you want to when you are painting your own. Remember, I'm just doing a 3-in-1 here to show you, but it's quite effective when you do a whole twig with the leaf size that you choose. And you can make some really interesting sort of branches, more fern-like, or the short thyme ones. You can spiral your line, so that is also something really cool when you use this kind of leaf. For this stroke, we're practicing what we learned in our very first lesson, where we go from the tip of the brush to the belly of the brush to the tip of the brush. But instead of closing our leaf, we're doing it in singles. This looks like a sort of palm type of branch, and you'll see we work our way down. I don't necessarily space the leaves symmetrically on either side of the palm, and this is because it lends itself to overlapping leaves. So we do our first layer where we set the foundation, and then once that's dry, we go in and we do some overlapping leaves. So we'll see if it's dry enough by the time I finish this one. I've mixed a slightly darker pigment to allow us to overlap and distinguish between the background and the foreground. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just laying in more leaves, but giving the impression of overlapping and a little bit of 3-dimension. This next branch is, as we learnt in class, where we close the leaf. So it's a double of the tip of the brush to the belly of the brush to the tip stroke. So we lay down our first half and then we close it with a second. Just for fun and to keep things interesting, I also mix a darker pigment and I kind of stagger the leaf colors as we go, just to give a little bit more interest to the branch. The next branch we are doing is a eucalyptus branch, and this is a sort of circular shaped leaf. You see I start with laying the outline but quickly paint it in so that outline doesn't have time to dry before I've laid in the center of the leaf. This eucalyptus also lends itself really nicely to overlapping, so I'm going to let this layer dry and show you another leaf sort of pattern, but then I'm going to come back and show you the overlapping layers. This next leaf pattern is more along the lines of a sort of rose leaf where it's got those jagged edges. So you see I'm just making the leaf a bit more organically shaped instead of perfect sort of eye-shaped leaves. And I'm just blending in the color where it was starting to bloom. But I'll do a few of these and you'll see the impression can be quite nice and organic. And then just to show you a concept of negative painting, I'm going to lay in a bigger leaf and then come back to illustrate this better for you. But I'm just doing a long stretched out leaf and I'm going to paint that in before the outline dries. Now that the eye-shaped leaf branches dry, I'm going to add in a few overlapping leaves as well. Again, I'm using a slightly darker pigment to pull this off. And then I'm going to add the overlapping leaves on the eucalyptus branch as well, also using a slightly darker pigment. And just to give some leaves a little bit more character, I am starting to apply the negative painting onto these sort of rose leaves, and I'd rather use the bigger leaf as the better example. But what you are doing is painting in the space of the leaf on either side of the vein, leaving the vein line unpainted, so that whatever was painted in the layer beneath comes through and it will shine through as the vein. So you can see I've left a bit of a space here, and it leaves a vein for this leaf. This will be better illustrated on the bigger one. So you'll see I'm going to paint the first half of the leaf and move on to the top half of the leaf, and leaving that vein separation between the two. I'm now going to apply the same onto the foreground leaves of the eucalyptus, and this is where it's my favorite. It comes through really effectively, creating 3-dimension for what's seemingly quite a boring branch. So with that, the leaf portion of the lesson is done. What was left for you to do is decide on whether you'd like to do a wreath or use the Maxwell and Williams reference to create your own version. So that's up to you. I have shared on the group some examples that I had done in the past, and you'll see those photos in the group. So it's really up to you.